kitchen items from one of those buildings. They were projects I hoped to get to in the fall. The rest, most of which had belonged to Clayton's father, was being sold in the shop. We were getting ready to tackle the house next, and we were also planning a yard sale for September. Work was pretty much all I'd been focusing on for the last couple of weeks, and that was fine with me. I took another bite of my sandwich. Elvis was the only guy in my life at the moment, which is also fine by me, I said aloud. He turned to look at me, and he almost looked a bit puzzled. It's okay with me that you're the only guy in my life, I said by way of explanation, in case his confusion was from what I'd said. You know what Liz says, a woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle. It was hard not to miss the irony in hearing Liz say those words. Elizabeth Emerson Kiley French had been married and widowed twice, and everyone who met her was charmed by her, unless they made the mistake of getting on her bad side. She was smart, beautiful, and tart-tongued. Men, even those a lot younger than she was, tended to lose their ability to think straight around her. Liz was one of my grandmother's oldest friends. She, along with Charlotte Elliott and Rose Jackson, were sort of my fairy godmothers. They spoiled me a lot, nagged me on occasion, and weren't shy about sharing their opinion on whatever was happening in my life. I'd suggested once that Liz should learn the words to Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, the fairy godmother's song from the Disney version of Cinderella. Liz hadn't been shy about telling me what she thought of that idea. Rose and Charlotte both worked part-time for me at Second Chance. The rest of their time was spent working at their detective agency, Charlotte's Angels, along with Rose's gentleman friend, Alfred Peterson, quite likely the world's oldest computer hacker. Mr. P had met all the requirements for becoming a licensed private investigator set out by the state of Maine. For the past several months, Rose had been working as his apprentice. Cases just seemed to fall in their lap. Their first investigation had started when their friend Maddie Hamilton was arrested for murder. The Angels' most recent case had begun to unwind after Rose had gone to make a very unauthorized delivery to a customer and seen a body that subsequently disappeared. The Angels didn't have a case at the moment, and I was hoping it stayed that way for a while. Because when Rose and her cohorts were investigating, I always ended up getting pulled into things, no matter how vehemently I swore it wasn't going to happen this time. It had been nice to have nothing more pressing to worry about than what color to paint a trash-picked rocking chair. The only lump in the gravy was that a reality TV crew had been shooting in our neighborhood for the past 3 days. They were filming a pilot for some kind of treasure hunt show, and the street had been clogged from early in the morning until after dark. Thankfully, they had moved elsewhere in town right before lunch. Just that morning, Rose, Elvis, and I had arrived at the shop to find the parking lot more than half full of crew's vehicles, without my permission, and a dusty half-ton truck blocking the entrance to the space. The driver was behind the wheel, intently watching the camera crew do something in the middle of the street several buildings away. He wore a backward Yankees ball cap, and I could see several days of scruff on his face. The hat alone was enough to get him the stink eye in North Harbor, where everyone bled socks red. Before I could do anything, Rose had marched over to the truck and smacked the hood with the flat of her hand. The sound had echoed down the street. The driver had jumped, slopping coffee, or whatever he'd been drinking from the takeout cup he was holding, onto his shirt. As he turned toward the driver's side window, I saw that the front of his green T-shirt said, "Hell yeah." I'd watched Rose talk to the man. He had wide shoulders and wiry arms under smooth brown skin, and he seemed to be shrinking back into his seat. Although I couldn't hear Rose's words, I knew her body language. It had struck fear in the hearts of more than one middle school student back when she was still teaching. After a couple of minutes, she came back to my SUV, a satisfied look on her face, and her ubiquitous tote bag over one arm. The truck pulled away. "What did you say to him?" I'd asked. "I simply reminded that young man of the importance of manners and respect for other people's property," she'd said, "and I may have mentioned how many of the nice young men and women on the town's police force are former students of mine." She'd given me an innocent look that could rival any of Elvis's. Then he remembered a previous engagement, so everything worked out just fine. "Okay," I'd said slowly, looking down the street in the